There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
and the Promenade Merchants Association,
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. We are here to discuss Shadowplay. For those who are not familiar with us, we are a group of longtime fans of Star Trek and especially Deep Space Nine. Some of us think this is probably one of the best series in the franchise. And we have managed to lie and bullshit some of our friends into joining us who have never watched this show before and convince them that it would be a good idea to do this again. Because after we did it to them and showed them a 30-year-old show called Babylon 5, they are still, for some reason, friends with us. God knows why. Pretty sure Jessi was going to kill us after season 5 of Babylon 5, but for some reason she signed on to this and is still with us, and we're all still alive for the moment.
For now.
For now. I am Blake, and with me is...
Prentice.
Emily.
Christopher.
Nicole.
And Jessi.
So, Christopher, I understand you have a synopsis for us this evening.
Dax and Odo land on a planet where a guy has been playing The Sims for 30 years. Jake doesn't want to be his dad, and Kira flirts poorly over spring ball.
That was good. Yep, that sums it up. We're done. That's it. No need to discuss further.
I will say, based on the synopsises we had for Grey 17, we've definitely upped our synopsis game with this show. We have some much better synopsises that we've been going through. So let's start with our newbies and get their first impressions of this episode. And Jessi, I'm going to go to you first because you've been absent for a couple episodes, and some of our listeners are convinced that you are an AI creation and that we've had a glitch in the Jessi AI.
How could they?
We're going to let you go first and address all of this.
How could they ever think that? First of all, I've never seen an AI that cusses like I do. I mean, I guess it could be a holosuite. I don't know. This episode was an episode. That's what I got. It was fine. I don't know. I watched it like 1,000 weeks ago, and until Christopher said something about The Sims, I couldn't even fucking remember what this one was about. Now that I remember, it was stellar.
And we wonder why people think Jessi is an AI. That is the Chat GPT summary of Shadowplay. At least we're not using Grok AI. That one is slightly more racist and anti-Semitic than what our normal AI generation is.
That one wrote season 1 of The Next Generation.
Right? And since Nicole is waving something at me, I think Nicole wants to go next.
I was showing Jessi that I'm using the lotion she bought me.
Oh, yay!
Wow.
Sorry, I'm 12. But I will go next. So, okay, this episode... Wow. Okay. It took us on a journey. First, we've got The Sims is the perfect way to describe it, Christopher. The outfits were very interesting on that planet or whatever, by the way, with like the bones in the hair and the weird beads. Like, I was like, all right, they got some cool fashion. I wasn't really sure what was going on with this place. I'm like, is this another cult like the other place? But no, it wasn't a cult. It was just all pretend. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting little thing. The whole Quark and Kira thing was pretty funny. Quark thought since Odo was gone, he was going to get away with some shit, but Kira was onto him. So that was kind of fun, their dynamic. I also enjoyed the endearing moment between Jake and O'Brien when he admitted to O'Brien that he didn't want to go to Starfleet. And O'Brien was like, told him a story about him. And I just really liked that because I don't know if we've ever really seen an interaction like that between O'Brien and Jake before. And I just thought it was really sweet and really endearing, pretty wholesome. And I thought he actually gave him pretty good advice. And then obviously we know he ended up telling his dad at the end and it went well, which was good. But yeah, overall, I thought it was good. Kira getting it with that Vedic guy. I knew that was going to happen after their naked dream they had. So I'm like, finally, Kira, go for it, girl, get it. So that was kind of me, the shipper. I was excited when they kissed. I screeched. So I enjoyed that part. I got to know what the hell Cisco wears on his days off when he's not in uniform because that outfit he had on the beginning was fucking weird. That was very an interesting, weird outfit choice, but who am I to judge? But yeah, overall, I feel like we had some weird pretend stuff. We had some endearing moments. We had some comedy. We had some romance. Definitely felt like whiplash on this show, this episode.
I am so glad Nicole got some shipping back.
Me too.
And Christopher.
So I thought all three storylines were compelling. Though I am kind of finding Dax to be the most boring member of the main cast, but that is probably just because I think they're writing her poorly and that she's not utilized the best, even though I did like the opening scene where she's just kind of like in there, like giving the chisme to Odo. I thought that was funny. And Odo's response, where he was like, I'm gonna have to talk to to the lieutenant about this. And she's like, no, just I thought that was funny. Like Nicole, I wrote down get it, Kira. And then the relationship between Jake and Commander Cisco continues to be a highlight of the show. And this was a really strong episode for that.
All right, let's go over to our longtime fans now, and let's start with Prentice.
So, lifting up what Christopher said, I do like the episode because of the relationship between Jake and Commander Cisco. One, I love the show when it first came out because it had that dynamic, a black father and a black son at that time that was rarely shown on TV in that capacity. But also for him standing up and saying, I don't want to live in your shadow, I want to do different. And I choose not to be in Starfleet. I think that was great. That's the complete opposite than what we had with Wesley Crusher on the Next Generation. So I like the fact that Jake is stepping outside of his self. As for the other story arc we have with Odo, I love the tenderness that was brought out of him by the young lady. Although she was a hologram, I thought that was great to see that side of Odo being just a little bit more warm. So I appreciate that in the episode. And then, of course, Kira finding love. I think this is a woman that's been through so much. She's had to endure so much in terms of the Cardassians, what's happened to her own family. All these things happen, rebuilding her community, rebuilding her world. So her finding her person, I think that was great to see. So overall, I thought it was a great episode. And actually, let me just retract that a little bit. Not great. It was a good episode, especially about what is real family versus a family you create. Somewhat is kind of the main story arc with the holograms when they have a conversation to say, listen, this may not be your biological family, but there's so much nuance, so much change because of you that these people, these creations are unique and original. So in some ways, they can be considered a family just in a different way. So I thought that was great, especially as we talk about AI and people are connecting with artificial intelligence in different ways. So just looking at the episode, I thought it was a decent.
Emily.
I do like this episode. It's not like my all-time favorite of the season, but I do enjoy it. I like that we see a different side of Odo because most of what we've seen so far is rigid, struggling with interacting with people and like relationships. And when he was interacting with Taya, it was like a completely different person. Like she opened him up more. So I really appreciate seeing another aspect of his personality. And we got to see him shapeshift. So that was fun. Turned to a little top. I am not on the Kira and Bareil bandwagon. Something about their pairing just feels off to me. So not I'm not excited about that. I do find the Jake and Cisco interaction interesting. It's not entirely surprising Jake is hesitant to tell him like, hey, I don't want to go Starfleet. But their relationship seems so close and so solid. Like in a way it felt weird, but it wasn't like completely out of the realm of possibilities. It still felt pretty realistic. But I mean, overall, it's a pretty decent episode for not a whole lot happening.
Emily, have we had in any show that we've watched a relationship between main cast characters that you have not had an issue with?
I don't think so.
It's
So you're
fine.
kind of the anti-Nicole. Nicole's shipping everybody, and you're getting the icks from everybody and wanting them just to go back to their own quarters.
I got the icks from that guy too, the very first episode we saw him in. So, like, I feel her ick.
Well, but it's well established that you're a prude, Jessi. We can get Ryan on at any time to clarify this.
I just don't like to see weird, awkward sex scenes and orgasms heard around the world.
Speaking of our friend Ryan from Yum Yum Pod, I have been in touch with him since we had a fan request to potentially have him appear with us on the episode crossover. Ryan has agreed to come on this show. God knows why, after several appearances on Grey 17, and he knows what kind of individuals we all are. He has agreed to this, but Ryan will be making an appearance here on Especially the Lies. So stay tuned for that when we hit crossover. For this episode, wow, Emily.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
We love Ryan.
It's already starting.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Ryan. We don't have an HR department to protect him.
Not poor. He loves this shit. Don't poor Ryan me.
There's a reason he keeps coming back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But for this episode, I do enjoy this one also. I think this is a good one, especially in terms of showing the relationships with the characters. I also think this is a standout episode for Odo, and I think Odo is what made the episode work, with especially that speech he gave to the end where it was trying to get the holograms to come back, and these are life forms. It may be hologram, but it's not the traditional form of life, but he's the only one that could tell that narrative because he himself has been through that, where he's not your standard life form like the Federation and others are used to. And so he made that argument. And I also think the relationship with Jake and his dad in this one, and Prentice, you touched on it a little bit. When you look at Children of Starfleet officers in Star Trek, and you've got Wesley Crusher in The Next Generation, who was absolutely hated by the fans, and I'm not going to say unjustly. Where I think it crossed the line is Will Wheaton as an individual took a lot of heat and a lot of hate for that role, which I think was directed at the character and misdirected towards him, because Gene Roddenberry basically put Wesley Crusher, because Gene Roddenberry's middle name was Wesley, and Wesley was supposed to be him on the show, and Wesley saved the day. You've got this basically a teenage kid running around the Enterprise, and when anything went wrong, oh, here's Wesley Crusher to save the day. And that was a running theme for like the first 2 seasons of the show. And it just got to a point of absurdity almost with how many times that kid saved the damn show and saved the ship. So when they put Jake in Deep Space Nine, I think there was some apprehension in the fans of, oh shit, here's another goddamn kid. What are they going to do? But they let Jake be a teenager. They let Jake be a character who was, one, exploring what he wanted to do, but also wasn't afraid, and as this episode shows, to sit there and say, this isn't the path I want. I don't want to be what you are. I want to do something else. And we'll see they're going to let Jake explore that. So I think the Jake dynamic really starts to take off here, and I really like how DS9 approached having a kid of a Starfleet officer versus how they did it in Next Generation. So let's go ahead and dive into our main discussion, and let's start with Nicole.
So I do have another point I want to make, but I want to touch on one of the Jake things you just said, Blake. I feel like Jake is one of the most underrated, I guess, or not underrated, but like low key one of the most important characters on the show in a sense, because you get to see him be a kid and grow and go through these things that like a teenager's going to go through, like his first crush, getting stood up, like all of these things that he's going through, you get to see. And it's really cool because like it's telling the story of DS9, but also through his experiences in his eyes as well. Like his way of looking at things is a lot different than Cisco's or any of the other adults on the show. So I think it's one of the most interesting parts of the show to me. But another thing I wanted to touch on that you guys had brought up was the Odo part. The Odo and that little girl, was it Taya was her name?
Yes.
Their dynamic was so wholesome. And the thing I liked about it was she wasn't afraid of him. They had a really like heartfelt conversation, like on the rock or whatever the next day. Like they had this really heartfelt conversation, and I just really, it showed us a softer side of him. And I feel like the little girl and him really related to each other in a way. maybe she felt a little bit like outcasted, or maybe she felt like she wasn't cool or didn't have friends or whatever. And she thought, oh, well, if you're a changeling, first of all, they're not real. And second of all, you probably have everybody as your friend. And he explained to her, no, that's not the case. I just really enjoyed their dynamic, and they really formed a bond pretty quickly. And at the end, when the guy was ready to let it all go, he was like, what about your granddaughter? Well, she's not real. Well, actually, she might be a hologram, but her personality and her feelings are real. And I think that speech that he gave was like really profound, because it was almost like he was speaking from his own experiences as well as what he kind of saw when he looked at them too. And it was just really cool to kind of see that. And when he did finally do the little swap for her at the end, she was so excited, and like right as they're disappearing, she's waving at him, and like you could see that they're like locked eyes, and it was just like, oh man, I hope like he goes and visits her. Like he probably made such an impact on that little girl, and it was just really cool to kind of see that. Because also you don't really see Odo interacting with kids either. There's not a lot of kids on DS9, right? And if there are, you don't really see him dealing with them. He's usually dealing with the riffraff or yelling at Quark. So it's like it was just totally like, and that's what I think I liked about the show the most, is that you had that sweet side with him and the little girl. Then you had the kind of tender moment, obviously, with Jake and his dad, which is one of my also favorite parts of the show. But then you had kind of the tender moment with O'Brien and Jake too. It really kind of, those moments with the adults and the kids is really kind of like not something I remember seeing a lot on TV back then, but also like not in this type of show. I mean, obviously, if you're like watching a Full House or like a TGIF show, you're gonna see that, right? But as far as I know, I don't know sci-fi. You don't really see that kind of dynamic on shows like this. I don't think, at least. So for me, I think that was the most interesting part of this whole entire show, was those kind of like tender moments here and there, and like moments of like encouraging and understanding, and like just kind of seeing each other at face value for who you were. And I just really liked it.
Christopher.
So what got me at the end when they figured out that it was a hologram and they turn it off, and the guy, and I can't remember his name, but he's ready to just like go, right? He's ready to disappear and be done. And he kind of, you see him kind of thinking like, look, the last 30 years I've wasted. You must really kind of think low of me, how, and like how I've been so lonely. And what made this episode was like the empathy that they had towards him and towards the holograms. Because when Odo said that they are alive, right? It was validation for him that it wasn't a life wasted, that these connections that he had were real. And when we watch these shows, like I think Neil deGrasse Tyson has said, like one of the things that he hates about sci-fi is like the unimaginative species that you see. They're all humanoid, and like we don't really think about what else life can be. And this episode, while like they're holograms and they're humanoid holograms, it still gives you that what else can life be, right? It's not what we think it is, and that it comes in all forms. And it just kind of makes you think that what else is out there? What does it mean to be alive? And I thought that was really well done. And as everyone else is hitting on, like with Jake and Commander Sisko and with O'Brien, they did that so well, where they show that you can be disappointed in kind of like your projections of your hopes and dreams on your kids, right? You want them to do something, you want them to be following your footsteps, or you want them to live the life that you weren't able to, like O'Brien's dad wanting him to be a musician, right? And to see that, hey, he can be mad about it, he can be upset about it, but then he can have this pride about what he actually does, right? When O'Brien said that his dad introduces him as Senior Chief Specialist Miles O'Brien, that to me, that was a moment of like, why can't all fathers be like this? Even if you're disappointed that and you're initially mad, you can come to a realization that it's okay that your child is their own person. And I like how Commander Cisco was like, yes, let's find you what you want to be. You don't have to be me. So that pressure is off of Jake to follow in his footsteps and become his own person. And I loved that. And that was the best part of this episode for me.
Prentice.
I wanted to say that I found it to be satisfying they chose Odo to be the person to talk about what real family can be in not a normal constructive fashion. This is a person that's been longing for community he's searching for his own, and I think the young lady mentioned as much in the episode that, hey, I know you look for you as well, right? So Odo has done a lot of self-study, I think, in this kind of thought about who I am and his longing for community. So I'm glad he was the one to deliver this speech about what a non-traditional community can look like. So that's one. Also, I'd like to say that I know they write a lot of the scripts, of course, for the characterization of Jake and Commander Cisco, but it really comes through how much Avery Brooks likes Sherlock Lofton. Like, they really gel. I know I've heard stories about how Avery Brooks would take Sherlock to his family's baseball games and go out and treat him like his own son. So it's really clear that comes across in an interaction on the screen. So it goes beyond just a script. They have a genuine affection for one another, and I see that every time they're.
I was just thinking about that actually, Prentice, in the stories, and I think they talked about it in the DS9 documentary, What We Left Behind. And they've got those stories where, yeah, Sirach Lofton basically said that Avery Brooks would take him to family functions. They went to Lakers games and he would introduce him as his son. And they really had that bond both on screen, and it's because of that relationship they built off screen as well. And you're right, that really does come through in the episode itself. I thought I saw someone else that wanted to say something, and then it disappeared.
I was just gonna point out, Prentice was saying how it was good that Odo was talking about community, and it was kind of hinted at in that first scene. Dax was going on her mission, but Odo was kind of tagging along because he wanted to see if there was anything else that he could learn about his origin, right? And so I didn't think they didn't really touch upon that anywhere else in this episode, but when you brought that up, Prentice, like it is kind of, he is figuring out who he is in the sense that I get to choose these people. This is my community, and maybe it doesn't matter as much where I came from when I have built this community around me.
And I think when you're looking at this show and keeping in context, this show's 30 plus years old at this point. And when this show premiered, the concept of a chosen community was within predominantly the LGBTQ community and not necessarily a mainstream concept 30 years ago. Whereas I think in context now, there's a lot broader adoption and acceptance of this idea of chosen communities and chosen families. And I think this show was ahead of its time in putting that kind of a concept forward. And it's not just an isolated in this episode. You see it with Odo, especially throughout this series. You've seen it so far, and that is something that's also going to continue with the series as well. And having that front and center, I think, was a move on this show's behalf. And that's one of the things they touched on in the documentary. They talked about areas where they felt the show succeeded and areas where they felt the show failed. And it's funny, the producers have always thought this show failed in representing different communities. And I really don't think it's as hard as what some of the producers and creatives thought it was. I think this show has held up relatively well, and some of the themes that it has have landed better over time than maybe what they thought it did at the time in its contemporary state. Nicole.
Well, I would agree with that, Blake, because I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of themes that we've discussed from this show that are still things that are being discussed now or things that are happening now, and I really do think it was ahead of its time in many ways. And I do like what you said about the chosen communities, because as we all know, we all have our chosen family and our chosen people. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily something as common, 20 years ago. Oh, family's family, blood is thicker than water. But as you get older, you're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do what's best for me and my peace. So I like that you said that. And I do think that it's crazy that a show that's 30 years old can still be so relevant today. But it's also interesting that like some of the themes that they addressed are being talked about today. Like this is a totally off topic kind of comparison, but like when I go back and listen to songs from the 80s from Madonna, that I was a little girl and I would listen to these songs. I had no idea what they meant. I'd sing the songs, I knew every word.
Boy, did you get an education now, didn't you?
Right. But now, listening back as a grown woman, she was so ahead of her time and she was discussing themes and talking about stuff that people are like now just starting to kind of see come to fruition, like the like women empowerment and I this stuff. They were doing it years ago. Janet, Madonna, like all these women were already doing it in the 80s, but it just wasn't as common. And now all these younger girls are catching up, right? This is just my way to kind of make a comparison because music is my lifeline. But like, it's just so interesting that like themes that are from a show 30 years ago are being discussed now because it was ahead of its time. And it just really, it makes you think like, how the hell did they come up with this shit back then? And did they know like that they were ahead of their time? Because it's just crazy to me that like, I really think that that is what makes the show interesting too. And it was the same with Babylon 5. We found ourselves discussing a lot of things that were still currently relatable. So I don't know if all sci-fi shows are like that or if it's a sci-fi thing, but it was really interesting that the two we've watched have held up pretty well.
Well, I think a lot of these themes are universal, right? And themes that we're always going to be dealing with. We're always going to be dealing with people who look at others and judge them based on how they look, how they act, who they love, right? We're always going to be dealing with that. We're always going to be dealing with governments that are oppressing their people, that are not living up to the expectations and ideals of their founding. We're always going to be dealing with human failure. And a lot of the themes that we're seeing in this show are these universal themes. So maybe the writers didn't think that they were hitting us over the head with it as hard as they should have, but I think that's part of what makes it good is that subtlety that they're using. It makes it timeless instead of encapsulating it in its own time.
And I think that's something sci-fi does very well in general. I mean, there are several sci-fi shows that have held up very well over the test of time. There are others that haven't. I would argue that as groundbreaking as Star Trek the original series was, TOS has not held up as well over
Oh
time.
God, it's so hard to watch now. It's
Particularly with some of the, I mean, it approached some groundbreaking topics, but at the same time, some of the sexism and underlying racism that was in that show, even when it was addressing those topics. So TOS, I don't necessarily think has held up quite as well. I was watching a perspective review even on Star Trek 6 the other day, which Star Trek 6 came out, I believe, 90 or 91. So not that long before this show premiered. And one of the main criticisms around Star Trek 6 was it took those classic characters and in relation to the Klingons truly made our hero cast quite racist towards Klingons in that episode. And it was kind of an interesting review. I'll have to see if I can find the link to it again. And if I can, I will share it. But it was an interesting take on kind of how Star Trek 6 went. But I think if you look at shows in other genres, particularly as much as of a fan of The West Wing as I am, I don't think The West Wing has held up as good as what some other shows have. And you look at some other shows, I'm thinking, my mother used to love to watch the show Dallas. I don't think Dallas has held up in any way, shape, or form. Not that it was ever meant to, but I'm saying you watch these shows that are these older shows and you watch them now and there's not much you can get from them other than looking at going, God, how was this ever like acceptable of a thing versus something like this where, or even Babylon 5, where you can watch it 30 years later and still make those connections.
I think the idealism has been beaten out of us, which might be part of the reason that West Wing doesn't hold up as well. But
well, that could be too. Nicole.
Well, another thing too, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, is that like, Chris, I think you're right with the universal themes. I definitely agree with that. But I almost think like some of the themes and some of the things that these shows bring up or talk about maybe were taboo back then, like not as common to talk about in the 90s, but are a little bit more common now. So as yes, I do think universal themes for sure, but I feel like people weren't as open about talking about things. Like for example, mental illness and mental health 20, 30 years ago, it's like shut up and deal with it, shove it down and keep going. That's what we were taught, or I was taught. And now people are trying to break that stigma and be a little bit more open and talk about it. And I think it's important because as the times have changed and some of these topics and things have become more commonplace and more open for discussion, I don't think it was as open for discussion back then. And that I think was pretty ballsy. That's just my opinion.
Prentice.
I think in sci-fi in general, you have forward-thinking individuals that like to scratch the boundaries and say, hey, let's push this issue, let's explore this deeply. So I think that's always been the case in sci-fi. I think Star Trek's done that especially well. Yeah, I do agree that sometimes some of the Star Trek doesn't hold up. And the original series, I kind of expect that. At this point, we're going on years since that series came out. So some of the things are cringeworthy, but some of it still holds up well. I would say the one cringeworthy episode of Star Trek for me is still Code of Honor from the first season
Oh,
of TV.
God.
Prentice, we just pretend that doesn't exist.
You know, I'm like, this came out in 1987, so I can't be as forgiving of that series and the time period it came out. They knew better. For some reason, it got past their common sense that this is a bad idea. But anyway, back on topic. This episode holds up well. I love, after I rewatched Deep Space Nine, I can say that this series, out of all the series I've seen for Star Trek, has held up the most.
Mm-hmm.
It really does a good job of all the things. I can't wait till we delve into things after this season, because really, I'm just happy it's going to pick up. You're going to be really excited about it. We're going to have a bunch of fun discussions about some controversial issues. But I think this series, out of all of them, it really holds up well.
And I will say another more contemporary one to DS9 that is on the infamous list is you do have Voyager Threshold, where the helmsman becomes a lizard, kidnaps the captain, turns her into a lizard, and makes lizard babies with the captain. If that isn't a whole shitload of HR violations, just throwing that one out there. That one's on the top of the shit list for Star Trek 2.
That was just disturbing. I would say that was just a very disturbing, dark episode. But anyway.
The fuck did I sign?
Jessi, you've asked that with this group for years.
I just want to get through this fucking first season because it's like, or second season.
Well, you're
seventh
through the
season.
first. Jessi,
Where
you
are we
made it.
at right now?
Congratulations.
Because it feels like it's season number 800. I need serialization. And this, I am bored as fuck. I love you guys, and I'm trying not to look bored as fuck, but I am bored as fucking fuck right now.
Boy, did you fail that one.
Okay, I feel better. Let's move on.
It was just a few weeks ago you were saying that you didn't mind that it wasn't serialized.
No, I wasn't. No. Go
Yes.
back, rewind it. I didn't say, I said I had forgotten how pissed off I was about it being not serialized, but now I'm back in pissed off mode about it not being serialized. It was like 3 episodes that I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And now I'm like watching it and I'm like, I fucking have zero buy-in. How could you possibly think I'm fucking AI? Jesus Christ.
Folks, the AI is working again. We
It's
got
broken.
it reset and it's rebooted back to normal.
The programming has fucking failed. Let's move on.
It gets better and soon.
It does.
You know what?
Soon. Seriously.
Yeah.
Listen, I've heard this before.
No,
Okay, I will tell you,
Dead
you
serious.
get to the final episode of this season, it kicks off something else.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Because I'm not sure I'm going to make it another fucking season at this pace.
and I will say, there's at least a couple episodes in here I'm looking forward to you seeing.
Yeah.
19,
Yes.
18, and 19 for sure.
And
Wonderful.
the one that Ryan's coming for.
Hey,
Oh,
Ryan.
well.
There's going to be
Ryan and
thoughts.
himself is going to make it much more enjoyable. But
Oh, yeah,
There will be thoughts.
I don't know why he selected that particular episode, but we'll talk about that after we kick off the newbies.
Well, I will say, some of our fans in our Discord server, how this came about is some of our viewers that are also on our Discord, which, by the way, if you want to be a part of that, the Patreon link is down below. You can click on that. If you join the Patreon at any level, we will add you to our Discord server where you can see some more of our unhinged bullshit. But we have one of the chats on there, which is the one with Visiting the Prophets, which is the spoilers section. Someone commented that that would be the perfect episode to have Ryan join us for. So I sent Ryan a message and said, hey, we're going to be watching this episode. Would you like to join us? And he said yes.
Dude.
I'm not sure why. That may be some inner psyche issues there to digest, but Ryan will be joining us for that episode.
That'll be.
Emily, you had some stuff you wanted to comment on.
Yeah, but I
Sorry,
don't remember
Emily.
what the fuck it was.
My bad.
No, it was something about the shows, even the episodes that don't age well when it comes to Star Trek, because I would agree, TOS gets really rough at times. It is interesting to watch them from the perspective of what were they aiming for and how far did they go off the mark, and like what was going on where like you would think you were making this point and you missed it completely. Except for Code of Honor, that was just an absolute shit show, and everyone should be for that for that one.
And the cast would agree with you.
Yeah, I don't blame them for that. But yes, I do agree that DS9 has held up the best, and I think that's because in many ways it deals with deeper issues than a lot of the others, and I'm gonna leave it there for
Well, and I was thinking of another one, and I finally came to the other show I was thinking that you could use as an example of sci-fi that hasn't aged well is X-Files. There was some stuff in that show that has not necessarily aged real well either. That in its contemporary, especially with some of its social type commentary that it had, it was contemporary fine, but I don't necessarily think it's aged as well as some of what
Yeah.
DS9 and some other shows have.
Well, and I feel like sci-fi ages better than a lot of like the pop culture comedy sitcom type stuff. Like if you go back and rewatch Home Improvement, that has not aged well.
Mm-mm.
I don't even know if it was great at the time, but I was a kid. I didn't know any better. But rewatching it as an adult, the criticisms about like Al's appearance and Jill's weight and just
Mhm.
yikes, a lot of that. I mean, Dawson's Creek, honestly, one of my favorite shows, didn't age great.
Let's not talk about that. Just don't ruin my childhood, because God, I loved that show, and I saw it was on like one of the streaming.
It's on
things.
Netflix. I started rewatching it because
Yeah.
my mental health went down the toilet.
Absolutely not. My so-called life. No, I'm just not doing it to myself. I love those.
My so-called life.
I'm not doing it.
Jordan Catalano is where we started seeing the red flags, but we still love him.
God, he was so hot.
If Kevin's listening to this, and if he is, I'll hear about it in short order. Is I will say Friends is another one that A, sucked at the time, but B, has definitely not.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Friends
I
did
still
not
love
age
Friends.
well at
I don't
all.
care. I still love
I
it.
never watched
Come
it.
at me, Kevin.
No.
It's a terrible show.
I don't care what you guys
Seinfeld,
say. I
also
fucking love it.
terrible.
Yes. Oh, Seinfeld sucked.
I will admit I do love Frasier because I love Niles, but yeah, I can't say that's aged well either.
Oh, now that we've potentially lost a quarter to a half of our fan base for trashing 90s nostalgia TV shows, anybody have any other thoughts on this particular episode?
Please, no.
I'm surprised no one has wanted to talk more about Kira and Bareil.
Because
I fucking hated it.
Ew.
Look, the way that Kira was so oblivious
It was cute.
to what was going on. I'm with you, Kira. I've been there. When
You oblivious?
Oh yeah.
No.
We're all shocked.
Yes.
Clutch my pearls.
When I started dating my wife, my friends who were out here, they all set us up. They all said we're going to meet at this restaurant. We get there, they promptly stand up and leave, right? Because I had to be hit over the head with it. Like I'm completely oblivious, and so the fact that she like doesn't seem to have any game, like she's like, I'm honored that you're here, right? It's an honor to like to meet you. Like, no, Kira, that's not why she's here. Like, even I could see that. That's how bad she is, and I feel for you, Kira.
She's a very smart girl, and I didn't buy it. I thought it was fucking stupid.
Well, I mean, Christopher and his wife are both relatively smart as well, but let's be honest.
He's weird smart though.
Rather
bad at
clueless.
flirting.
No. She's not stupid though. That's what I'm saying. You, Christopher, are Christopher. Like, we are not saying anything about you. You
I mean, you can be smart, but also not smart when it comes to like street smarts or dating or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was cute. I thought like he was very clearly into her and she was like, what? Like, at first I thought, oh, she's not feeling it. She's not reciprocating it. But then once they started like talking about spring ball, which what the fuck is spring ball? They were like cute little like teenagers. And then when he was helping her clean and then it finally clicked in her head, she's like, oh, well, you can help me with a few things. And then I was like, oh, the gears finally turned. And then they kissed and they made out like teenagers that were deprived and hiding from their parents. It was interesting. And then she was like, wait, I gotta go fuck Quark up. I'll be back. She just dipped on him. It was so funny. It was very awkward and funny.
I think spring ball is Bajoran pickleball.
Okay.
Best I can come up with. Emily.
I found it interesting that Quark set it all up
Yeah, because he at the end he's
because
like, "Oh, okay."
because yeah, his statement was like not diverting enough because Quark still got caught.
I mean,
Like
who hasn't set someone up on a booty call to try to get away with something?
Well, and the beginning when
Prime
that
example,
scene with
everybody.
Quark and Kira where she's like, I hate you. I can't stand you. You know, you're a liar, you're a cheat, you've conspired with the Cardassians. I don't just not like you, I despise you. And then this find out that it's him who's setting this up was just
The
yeah, I think
silliest
that's why it
ever,
kind of gives
Christopher.
me the ick because it was like set up, but I
She
mean,
had the naked dream. It was gonna happen.
Yeah, and that was with the creepy but like, dude, he was such a fucking creeper in that episode. I don't know.
you know,
I
I
think he
try to
worked his
not remember it.
Listen, he is a creeper and he is weird, but you know what? I'm all for people getting their piece. So good for her, you know?
yeah, but not in a creepy
Have you never had a night with somebody and you're like, "Oh man, they were not great, but I still got what I wanted and walked away."
no. I haven't.
Oh,
Usually
well.
those
Guilty.
guys are the worst.
Yeah, I've been there. I woke up and I was like, "What the fuck did I do?"
Right. I'd like to just
Uh-huh.
erase that one out of my fucking memory
Yep,
forever.
I got a couple of those.
Shit happens.
But
I
you
was
got
married
what
to
you wanted,
Christopher.
and now you can step.
Mm,
And this is where I start to deteriorate.
We're done.
Sort of the whole show just starts to deteriorate, if we're honest. So, any final thoughts before we get to questions and predictions? Okay, Christopher, questions, predictions, ponderings, bullshittery?
so is Bashir's spy training going to pay off? Because they did mention that. This is the third time that the Dominion has been mentioned, so they're going to be like the main antagonist. Like you can't keep mentioning the Dominion and not have them play some sort of huge role, whoever the fuck they are. But they're going to be the main antagonist in the next season, probably. Kira's interaction with Quark, where she was telling him that she despises him. I think that feels important. Like it's setting up a choice for Quark that he's going to have to make. He's going to have to take sides, and I think that it probably has something to do with the Dominion because he's the first one to have mentioned it. So that's what I got.
Jessi,
Get down. Nothing. Head is touching, and he's driving me nuts.
do you need an HR form?
I do. He's very, very overbearing. I have nothing. Does that surprise you? I got nothing. I was just here to insult Christopher the whole time.
Do you have any conspiracy
I mean,
theories
isn't
for
that
us,
what
at
you come
least?
on every time to do?
I think that, yes.
I mean, you got to give us something, even a
I
conspiracy
think,
theory.
okay, so everybody is saying that I'm AI. I actually think that Prentice is AI, and that's why he shut. Look at him, look. He's like, hold up, now I'm here. I think he's AI. That's why he shut down my theory of getting rich with me because he can't physically do it.
I
You
can't
can't physically do
for
it after
other
that theory that
reasons.
you.
Other reasons. I mean, you want me to have relations with a elder.
He doesn't
That
want to be sweeping cobwebs out when he's going down there. You know, he's good.
I don't want to have therapy, mental therapy after engaging that business proposition.
You
We
would
can
have
talk
enough
further.
money to put yourself in whatever kind of therapy that would make you feel better.
I don't know if my mind can burn that out of my head, but there's other ways, just we can make money. So I mean, listen, we could talk, but selling me off to the older folks, that's not
That
in the
just seemed
cards.
like the easiest for me. Like,
And it was the easiest for you. Your self-interest being met, mine not so much. All right, let's end this hellish episode and go on to the
God, please.
profits because right now it's turned into a mess.
All right, Nicole,
Turning.
predictions,
Yeah, Nicole, let's
questions.
go.
My only
She's like,
question was what the hell is spring ball? But I actually do wonder if like they will go visit those people again or like they'll ever encounter them again or if they're just gone forever.
They're not people. They weren't real.
Oh, yeah, the hologram. Sorry.
Neither are you,
Listen.
according to some of our listeners.
That's okay. It'd be like me falling in love with my fucking Sims game. For 30 years. God, why am I so fucking awful today? All right, let's end this and move on.
We could unpack that statement for a while, but we do not have the time.
Or the money.
Or the money.
Oh.
Thanks to Prentice.
So
Don't put mine
that
in.
concludes our discussion of Shadowplay here on Especially the Lies. If you want to engage with us, one of the best things you can do for us, since we took our little hiatus, we've been slowly bouncing back. We have our ratings back up on YouTube, but we're still struggling on Apple and Spotify. So if you could do us a favor and drop us a review, and not just click the number of stars, but actually write us a review. The written reviews get us more traction on the mathematical algorithms that are Apple podcasting. You can also leave comments on Spotify that we can respond to help boost engagement, and that helps get the show out there further, so please feel free to drop us a review. If we get positive reviews, we may actually read them on the show. We've got a couple that we won't read on the show for the safety of those who gave the review, because I'm pretty sure if Jessi found some of our reviewers, that could be a problem.
Are there more?
Depends.
You
When was the last one?
motherfuckers. What was it? Tell me.
I'll read it to you later.
No, I'd like to hear it now.
No, you really don't.
You know what? I'm tired of these motherfuckers picking at me. You guys are gonna catch it. I'm telling you right now, keep fucking around. You really haven't seen Jessi on this fucking show yet. So keep, by all means, please have at it.
So please leave us a review on Apple, preferably 5 stars, and you can tell us what you think of Jessi, as long as you give us 5 stars when you do it.
5 stars, and you can say whatever the fuck you want, and I'll read them in a bonus episode, bitches.
Oh, it could be like the mean tweets that they do on. We can
Yes.
have our own version of mean tweets. I like this. You can also interact with us on our social medias. We have all those linked down below. As we've mentioned, we do have a new Twitter account, because fuck if we know what the hell Scott set the password up for the Especially the Lies Twitter. So we can't use that anymore. So we have a new Twitter account that's down below. We also have the link to the Patreon where you can join us and get access to our Discord. We are going to start releasing the episodes a couple days early on Patreon, exclusively for our paid subscribers on Patreon. So you'll be able to get access to the episodes on Monday evening before we drop them live on YouTube and all other major platforms on Wednesday. Thank you for joining us on Especially the Lies. I have been Blake, and with me has been
Prentice,
Christopher,
Nicole,
And Jessi.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respected copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to Visiting with the Prophets. We are going to discuss our newbies questions and predictions. We actually do have a few this week to go through, and I want to kick off with one, then we'll get to the rest of what they have written down, but it's a comment that came up from Jessi about the lack of serialization so far. And I want to address that because while the show is not as serialized at this point as what Babylon 5 was, there is some very subtle serialization happening in the background, I think, of the show at this point that that they're not catching on to, but it is there. And Christopher touched on it a little bit when he brought up the references to the Dominion.
Yep.
There have been these background references. They are clearly building this show to something in a way that had not really been done well. You could argue in TNG, what was it, season 2, where they got into the conspiracy with the bugs, they were building to something. I think it was season 2.
That was season 1. That was season
yeah, okay, it was 1.
Yeah.
It was one of the ones you try to forget. But
Yeah.
they had the bugs and they were building to that, and then they just dropped it. And they completely dropped the ball with it and never went anywhere because they didn't think anything that serialized and that continuation of a story would really work, especially with the syndication model. So you've got them trying that again here, but one, they're doing it much more subtle. They're doing it very well, and it is actually going to end up paying off.
Yeah. And like the little dropping hints about changelings, because she's another one who has mentioned changelings. And she's like, I was told they didn't exist. And oh shit, my brain just glitched on the guy's name. The key. When they had the key that shape shifted.
Oh yeah.
Was it Lars? Laz? No, that's future episode. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and I can't remember it.
Yeah. It'll probably come to me in the middle of the night or something. But anyway, we know the episode I'm talking about. So there's been hints all along about changelings. And yeah, this being the third reference to the Dominion. So it is interesting that there is that serialization happening in tiny, subtle increments, and it's just not obvious yet. So,
Well,
yeah.
Odo wanting to explore more into the Gamma Quadrant we'll find out when they were sent out, they put in them this desire to return home. And that's what we're sensing out of Odo is he's wanting to go find his people.
Yep.
And those pieces, these little foundation pieces are being laid. And DS9 does this very, very well. I think Babylon 5 was a lot more open about that it was going to be serialized and just went straight into it. Whereas at this point, they were still trying to get it past the network, get it past the creatives that we can do this. So they were a lot more subtle and light touch about it than what Straczynski was.
Yeah.
So what else we got from our first timers?
Okay, I really appreciate Christopher's question about does Bashir's spy training pay off?
Oh, wait till we get to section 31.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not the shitty movie where that does not exist in this world.
No, it doesn't.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
How do you think they react to the fact that Bashir's going to be in the episode, a holodeck episode about being a spy?
Oh yeah, because they've got a couple. They've got our man Bashir.
That's what I'm saying.
There's also the other one, which is the take on the Bond one, which is he's got a couple where they do that, where they have the holodeck spy mysteries, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember our man Bashir. Which was the other one?
Or maybe it is just our man Bashir, but I thought he did a couple where he kind of was the holodeck spy.
For some reason,
I thought there was one or two.
Okay.
Or no, I know the other one I'm thinking of is where the alien gets in his head and he's on the station aging and he's got to figure that out.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, I was thinking that one.
But we have a few different episodes within the holodeck and
All right, no, so they're definitely going to see it pay off with Section 31 storyline that's going to develop. When did we first see that? Is that season 4 or 5? That's Section 31. But anyway, it comes up. It's going to be a running thread, so it will pay off.
Yeah, because director Sloan will show up. Trying to see when they showed up in here.
That amazing actor from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He plays Death in those movies.
Okay. Yeah, it's later in the series because I think it's after they even switched to the new
uniforms.
The new uniforms.
Yeah.
So what'd I miss?
We were discussing Section 31 and Bashir's spy training.
I love Bashir's spy training. I mean, Garrick.
And then I know Christopher asked about. I found our season 6. So it's season 6 before we get there because it's Inquisition.
Wow, I thought he was in there so much more than that. Just season 6.
He's in there a lot, but yeah, it says season 6 when 31 shows up.
Okay.
Christopher also brought up the Dominion, though, and said they're going to be the main antagonist. And oh, yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to become the main assholes.
It's interesting because they kind of have been, but no one knows it yet because they haven't interfered with the Federation.
Yep. We have anything else from our people?
Christopher was talking about the Kira and Quark dynamic and predicting that Quark will have to take sides when the Dominion shows up, like whenever that comes to fruition.
I think by the end of this, our folks are going to have a very interesting view of Quark.
Yes.
Because we've got this idea that, oh, he's the Ferengi, he's the con man, he's doing all of this stuff. But time and time again, you will see Quark do things uncharacteristic of a Ferengi to help his friends and be there for his friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see by the time we get to the end of the series what they will think about about Quark.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a lot of complicated feelings about him. I
Yeah.
mean, I've watched this show repeatedly and I still have complicated feelings about Quark.
So do they have anything else for us, or does that wrap up most of their commentary?
Like what is spring ball? I don't know, some dumbass game.
Bajoran
And
pickleball.
yeah, and they don't return to the planet. At least I don't
Nope.
recall them ever going back, so
All right, I think that wraps up our behind the scenes discussion of Shadowplay. We will be back next week with the episode Playing God, because that's going to elicit some thoughts.
oh yeah, Arjun.
Yes, we're going to have Arjun, so we're going to have
God, he's
insufferable
and
characters.
yeah, he's annoying.
So make sure to join us next week and get all of our thoughts on Playing God. And join us on our social media, join the conversations there, join our Patreon and Discord, and check out all of the insanity that we have going there. And we will be back soon.